Hi, my name is Hans Brouwer. I'm the founder of HP Design, and I'm here to talk to you about Rohan Harita. It's a very special project because I think I had established a very strong relationship with the site. I came here many years ago prior to any construction being even considered. And when I walked this site, I was very impressed with the abundance of trees, the foliage, and even the life forms that were taking place in there. There were wonderful birds that would make the trees their home. And it struck a very strong chord in me. I'm an architect of 40 years in practice, and I have to say many sites that I encounter have very little spirit, a sense of place, a sense of belonging. And I think with Rohan Harita, I was struck by the strong character of the place. And so that formed the basis of the starting point of how to design around this, because it was very important to capture that and to work with it. And I'm delighted to find the name Harita becoming the namesake of this project, which in Sanskrit I understand means sort of the green, in the green. And it couldn't be more appropriate. Rohan Harita really was about trying to find out how to accommodate the real estate required within the context of the site. And the site was a very long one, sort of a rectangle, very long and thin. And when we went to discover, we found that there's some wonderful tree-lined avenues on one side and beautiful clusters of trees in certain areas, which we felt were important to start with as a place to leave alone. And so as a result of that, we ended up with a very simple idea of arranging the buildings in a sort of perimeter edge condition, and then introducing a sort of an additional tower over here, so we could create sort of two kinds of landscape gardens, an A and a B, very different in nature. At the same time, giving all of these units the views and the experience of these gardens here. Not to say that on the backside we also don't have beautiful trees. Along here is a wonderful tree-lined avenue, and when I walked the site, I remember actually labeling the trees and getting them surveyed, and then having that as a basis for working out the actual site planning. And so as a result of that, when you come to this site, you will first of all see the trees, be in the trees, and I think that's an important distinguishing characteristic. Oftentimes the architecture is center stage, it sticks out, but in this case, when we looked at this sort of site, we wanted it to feel like a forest. Eventually, buildings come around and occupy that forest. And you can see here that as the buildings sort of come around, there's always the treescape at the center. These areas in here. And so the idea of the buildings being in the forest, I think, was a very important one. And the communion of the architecture being between the ground, which is here, and the sky, which is up there. And so the idea of creating a groundscape which was marked by punctuations of greenery. When you come through here, there's a very beautiful connection between what we considered sort of the more wild part of the landscaping, the natural forest with all the facilities under it, versus the more curated, more organized landscaping where the main pools and the main facilities are. Connecting between these two is a wonderful sort of double height space that allows you to walk under the building, seemingly lifting this entire structure here over the ground and allowing that connection between these two sort of green areas there, which I think was, again, a very strong response to the site. The other thing that we had to accommodate, which I think is worth telling the story, was that the idea of the parking. It's kind of a much challenging kind of idea of any of these buildings with lots of units, that you have to effectively accommodate lots of cars. But what we did here is made the podium actually something very green. So if you end up taking a look at the way that the podium's been designed, we realized that the podium had to be sort of a certain height, above which were towers, and what we did is we created a facade here punctuated by greenery as well. So the idea that this podium facade was in fact another reflection of taking the forest that was down here and put it on the building. So the idea that if there was a forest here, could the podium not also be a kind of vertical forest? So the idea that these two surfaces, where people are standing and what people are looking at, can also be greenery. And I think that was a very important thing. The other thing we've created is a kind of continuous linear ledge which is actually where you can run around the building. And there's an extended jogging track in here. So again, making use of experiencing the building and the site from many locations. So we can actually be here high above the forestry and actually look down on this. So there are, again, multiple places where you can be in this project. And whether you're on the ground looking out, whether you're on this eco deck with this jogging track there, or in your unit, we felt that this sort of relationship with the forest here was an incredibly important one. And so we feel that when you come to Rohan Harita, you will always be in the greenery. You will always feel the greenery as part of your everyday movement, whether you're arriving from the site, coming along here, driving and going to your various buildings, whether you are actually in your unit looking out every day over your landscaping itself, or whether you are actually in this amazing garden, which are, again, vast proportions here, under the canopy of trees. And I think that's a very special place to be. And so we are very proud to have been able to work with Rohan on this project, to be able to create this kind of architecture where, in more than almost any other project, the site itself was the design. And the responsibility of the architect was almost to get out of the way and allow the site itself to manifest. So we're very happy to see it now under construction and looking forward to it being completed. Thank you.